Hello, welcome or welcome back. Today we are talking about perception, and in particular the three levels of perception and why it's really important to hold all three, because that's going to make manifesting and creating your reality so much easier. And that's what we're talking about today. Stick around. Just before we get started, I just want to share a few things with you. For those of you who are new, my name is Hedley. I'm a qualified life coach. I am an author, and I am also super passionate about these amazing teachings of the law of assumption as originally taught by the great American mystic Neville Goddard. So it is the stories that we tell in consciousness that get pushed out and reflected back in our reality. So if you want to change any part of your reality, you really want to start by changing the story in consciousness first. And if you want to create the most amazing reality, then you want to know how to tell the most amazing stories. And that is where these teachings can really help. And that is why I am here. I want to support you to tell much better stories so that you can experience a much better reality, a much more favorable reality and experience in life. Now, there are a number of ways you can work with me. All of those details are below, but just so you know, I do have a promotion going at the moment for quick coaching. It is done online where you fill out a questionnaire and then I send you back a recording, and it's only $30 for the moment, but that price will be going up shortly in about 30 days or so. But I just wanted to give everyone the opportunity to experience coaching if that's something that you are interested in. And as I always say, it is not something that you need. It's just to support you if that's an experience that you want to have. But of course, you're the star of your movie. You are phenomenal and powerful as it is. It's just there if you would like it. Okay, let's get into it. So today I wanted to talk about the three levels of perception. Neville does talk about these three levels in The Complete Reader, but like many things, I can't remember where it is because I've read it so many times and it's just all jumbled up in my mind. One of the things that I have really started to experience over this past year, and certainly in recent times with the flooding, is the levels of perception and when I'm perceiving reality through each level. And so I just wanted to go through each level so that you're aware of what those levels are really specifically, so you can tell when you're in each one. And it does help to have all three so you can kind of move between the three, and it just makes manifesting a lot more easier because you want to have all three if you're manifesting and creating your reality. So the first level of perception is the physical, and that is like a three-dimensional perspective, and it's where it's a very physical perspective. You're a physical body and you are looking out at physical things. So this computer is real, the lights are real, the desk is real, the people outside of you are real, and it's like you're here, they're there, and it's very limited and restricted. So that person is over there and they are acting this way and they are doing that, and that's kind of out of your control. So really you don't have control over the physical world. Certainly if you're in that 3D perspective and if you're operating simply from a 3D perspective, life can be quite difficult. It can feel like a struggle because it can feel like you don't have much control over things, that things are happening to you, they're happening outside of you, and it's very easy to slip into a victim mentality, but then also it's easy to slip into an ego mentality where you have to control everything and dominate and fight for what it is that you want and work hard. You have to make it happen, meaning you, the physical body. So that's the first perspective, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is one of the basic perspectives, and the thing is, however, it's very limiting. So we do want to expand our perception and we want to kind of pull back to more of a psychological perspective. So that's the second level of perception, is the psychological, and that is where things might be happening in the physical world, but there's a deeper meaning. So not everything is as it seems. There's more behind the scenes. So there's a deeper reason behind it. And I should actually give you the example of the flood because that's something that I wanted to talk about, and that came up very clearly with these levels of perception. So with the physical level, when the floods happened, that was very much a 3D experience, and I experienced myself very much in the physical world and in that 3D reality, looking at things from that perspective. And in that moment, you know, I didn't have the space to kind of operate from any other levels. It was very much a 3D experience, and everyone else was in that 3D experience as well. Then from a psychological perspective, so let's say taking the floods, so anything that comes into your reality it will mean something. So then, you know, you could just look up a dream meaning as to what's the meaning behind the thing that is showing up in your reality. So from a psychological perspective, flood symbolizes cleansing and renewal and new beginnings and, you know, washing away the old, bringing in the new. So it can actually be a very positive thing. So that's coming at things from a psychological. And I wrote a book a few years ago called Right Way Home. And I had this experience over the 30 days. I was this was 2015 I wrote this book. So this was a fair way from coming into law of assumption, but I was still operating from that psychological perspective where not everything is as it seems. And I was going on long walks and I was walking down to the water and I was seeing dolphins, and the dolphins were messengers and they were giving me messages, and the birds in the trees, and like everything became a message. And I was working with the natural world in decoding what was happening in my subconscious. And it was a really interesting experience. So there's that level of perception. And that's a really powerful level of perception when you can start to step back from your life and go, hang on a second, what's really going on here? Then the third level of perception is the spiritual level. And Neville talks about this in his teachings, and certainly with the Bible. So Neville will say that the Bible is actually, well, it's not a historical account, it's a spiritual teaching, it's a metaphysical teaching. It's kind of like a guide to life. And this is how life works from a metaphysical perspective. And he's actually saying from that spiritual perspective that the Bible is your story. The Bible is everybody's story. That story is happening within you. And from this spiritual perspective, when you take a step back, so you've gone from the physical to the psychological, and then you take another step back to where all of reality is happening within you. So everything is happening within you and it's getting pushed out and it's reflected back, and you're kind of in this holographic experience. Now that's a different state of perception. That is looking at things from a very different perspective, but that perspective gives you so much more freedom and so much more scope and so much more room to work with, because all of a sudden everything that's in your reality is just a reflection of what's happening in consciousness. So if there's anything that you want, then you can create it and you can bring it in. And if there's anything that's unfavorable, you can uncreate it and bring it in, and it will dissolve. It's a really powerful perspective to have. Now, you want to be able to have all three and move between the three at will. So after the floods hit, so I was very much in the physical, dealing with the flood and the recovery efforts. And then I had some space and I was like, hang on a second, what does this actually mean? Like, what does this symbolize? And I looked up like in the dream dictionary, because, you know, Neville will say, this is all a dream and we have forgotten the dreamers. But even just from a psychological perspective, if this thing is happening outside of me, like the flood, what does that mean? And then I looked it up and it's renewal and it's a lot of like positive things. But then from the spiritual perspective, and this is where it was really interesting. So I have never read the Bible in full before. I've read little bits. Since coming into the Law of Assumption teachings, I've started reading the Bible from Neville's perspective that he teaches as a metaphysical teaching. I was reading and I kind of stopped, and because it's quite difficult to read from a metaphysical, you know, you kind of want to read it literally. And I got up to the point in the Bible where there was the great flood. I had stopped just before there, and after the floods I went back to look for where that story in the Bible was, and I had stopped just before reading that story of the great flood and then the building of Noah's Ark, and the instructions that God gave Noah was to build the ark of 3 levels. That symbolizes the 3 levels of perception. So you want to have the physical perspective, the psychological perspective, and the spiritual perspective. So you want to have all 3 in order to be able to have influence over your reality. You do need to cultivate all 3 levels of perception and work with all 3, in particular the spiritual. That is, your reality is happening within you and it is getting pushed out and reflected back like a movie. If you were to go to a cinema and your mind, your consciousness is the projector. So that's what I wanted to share with you. It's not so much anything to do just to develop those levels of perspective. So if things are happening to you, yes, they're happening to you, that's happening. That is a physical experience you're having. However, then you want to step back and look at, well, what might that mean? What's the meaning behind that? And then take it a step back even further and go, what's the consciousness that's going on within me that is creating the reality that I am seeing? Because everything is coming from within you. It is all happening within you. It's happening in consciousness. You are consciousness, and your consciousness is the cause of your reality. It's amazing, it's incredible, and you really are that powerful. So that's all I wanted to share with you, just a little bit of information to kind of deepen your understanding of these incredible teachings. Being able to move through those 3 perspectives will really help you with your manifesting journey. So please remember, you are the creators of your reality. You are the superstar of your show. You are the producer, the writer, the director, and the actor in your movie. What you assume to be true will be so. So assume the best for you and assume the best for everyone in your movie too, and you will have an amazing life. This is my wish for you. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and comment. Please feel free to ask any questions, share any success stories that you might have. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, I would love to have you, and I would look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks. Bye.